I never thought marriage would feel like a performance review. But somewhere along the line, that's what it became, a checklist I could never complete. I'm Nathan, 38, from Ohio. My wife, Claire, is 35. We've been married 7 years, together for 10. What used to be easy started feeling like a test I didn't know the answers to. It began subtly, small criticisms that grew sharper over time. If I forgot to take the trash out, she'd sigh, "You're so careless." If I got home late from work, she'd frown and say, "You never plan anything." If I tried to be affectionate, she'd stiffen and pull away. At first, I told myself every marriage goes through cold seasons. But this wasn't a season, it was turning into the climate. The distance between us grew so quietly that I almost didn't notice how much space had formed. She started sleeping facing the wall. We stopped holding hands. The laughter that once filled the kitchen got replaced by the sound of notifications pinging from her phone. One night, after another silent dinner, I asked her softly, "Claire, what happened to us?" She looked up, eyes tired but not sad, and said, "You changed, Nathan. You don't try anymore." That line hit me like a slow punch. I asked her, "Try what?" She leaned back, crossing her arms. "Everything. You've gotten comfortable. You've let yourself go. You're not the man I married." I remember glancing down. I'd put on maybe 10 pounds. Sure, work had been rough. Life had slowed me down a little. But I didn't see failure when I looked in the mirror. I saw someone surviving, providing, staying. Still, I said nothing. Sometimes silence feels safer than arguing with someone who's already decided who you are. Weeks passed with that same dull rhythm, her detachment, my confusion. Then one night, while I was folding laundry, she came into the room wearing a look I hadn't seen in months. Not warm, not angry. More like someone about to deliver a verdict. She sat on the edge of the bed and said, "Nathan, I need you to listen. I can't keep pretending everything's fine. I don't feel close to you anymore. Emotionally, physically, none of it." I put down the shirt I was folding and said, "Then let's fix it. Tell me what you need from me." Her answer was so clean, so rehearsed. It felt like she'd been waiting to say it. "Be perfect first, then we'll talk about touch." First, I thought she was joking, but she wasn't smiling. I asked, "Perfect? What does that even mean?" She sighed, as if explaining something to a child. "Lose weight. Get serious about your goals. Be more ambitious. Be more confident. Be the man I thought I married. Then maybe I'll feel something again. Maybe." The word echoed in my chest. I'd spent years believing love was about growing through imperfection together. She was now saying love was conditional, earned like a promotion. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, wondering when affection became a reward system. When did being a husband start requiring a performance? Over the next few weeks, I actually tried. I started hitting the gym again. Ate cleaner. Slept less. Worked harder. Told myself maybe she just needed to see effort. But effort wasn't the problem. Even after all that, she stayed cold. Conversations became one-word exchanges. Dinners were silent. Texts were transactional. And every time I reached for her hand, she found something to scroll through instead. I began to realize she didn't want a better me. She wanted the illusion of someone else entirely. Someone who didn't exist. Then came the breaking point. It was a Saturday morning. I'd spent 2 hours mowing the lawn, washing her car, and fixing the cabinet she'd asked me to repair. When I came inside, sweaty and tired, she barely looked up from her phone. I said, "Hey, I took care of everything you asked for." Without looking up, she replied, "Good, that's the bare minimum." The words hit harder than they should have. I didn't shout, I didn't argue. I just stood there, looking at the woman I used to share dreams with, now treating me like a poorly performing employee. That night, as we got ready for bed, I tried once more. I touched her hand gently and whispered, "Claire, can we at least talk about this? I miss you." She turned, eyes flat, and said, "You don't get to miss me. You created this." And then she rolled over, pulling the blanket with her. I lay awake again, feeling like a ghost in my own marriage. I wasn't angry yet, just hollow. But something inside me began to shift. For years, I'd been trying to meet standards I never agreed to. Now, for the first time, I started to wonder what would happen if I stopped trying altogether. The next morning, I didn't make breakfast. I didn't ask if she wanted coffee. I got up, got dressed, and left for a long drive with no destination in mind. The silence in the car felt cleaner than the silence in our house. For hours, I just drove. Through the suburbs, past the gas stations, into small towns where no one knew me. I replayed her words over and over in my head. Be perfect first. I realized that was the problem. Somewhere along the way, she'd stopped loving me and started evaluating me. And I'd been foolish enough to audition for affection that should have been freely given. When I came home that evening, she was sitting on the couch watching something on her phone. She didn't ask where I'd been. She didn't even look up. That's when I knew it wasn't about perfection. It was about power. The next few days I spoke less. Not out of anger, but because there was nothing left to say. I moved through the house like a polite stranger. Quiet, efficient, detached. She noticed. Eventually, she asked, "What's wrong with you lately?" I looked at her calmly and said, "Nothing's wrong. I'm just finally listening." She frowned. Listening to what? To the silence between us. That shut her up for a moment. But even then, I could see she didn't take it seriously. She thought it was another one of my emotional attempts to fix things. She was wrong. That week, I stopped chasing her approval. I focused on myself, not the gym version she demanded, but the man I used to be before I started bending to please her. I went back to hanging out with my old friends, working on my car, taking my brother fishing. And you know what? For the first time in years, I felt light. Not happy, but real. A few days later, she came to me while I was sitting on the porch. "You've been distant lately," she said. "It's like you don't care anymore." I took a sip of my coffee and replied, "I used to care enough for both of us. I just got tired." She blinked, confused. "So what are you saying?" I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman who once made me laugh at nothing, who used to reach for my hand first. She was still there, but colder now, sharper, like someone I used to know. I said, "You told me to be perfect first, then we talk about touch. But maybe it's time you start being a wife first, then we'll talk about love." She didn't respond, just stood there, speechless. Maybe it was pride, maybe guilt, I'll never know. That night, she didn't roll away. But she didn't reach for me either. The silence stretched thin, like glass about to break. 2 weeks later, she asked if we could talk. We sat in the living room, the same place where she'd first given me her "Be Perfect" speech. Her tone was softer now. "I've been thinking," she said. "Maybe I was too harsh. Maybe I pushed you away." I didn't gloat, didn't lecture. I just listened. Because by then, I'd already accepted something she hadn't. Once respect breaks, love can't survive long after. She said, "I want to try again." And I told her the truth. Not out of revenge, but honesty. "Claire, I tried for years. I begged, I fixed, I adjusted. But love isn't a project. You don't grade your partner. You grow with them. I was never looking for perfect. I was looking for real." Her eyes filled, but no tears fell. Maybe she understood, maybe she didn't. Either way, I felt lighter after saying it. We didn't argue. There was no shouting, no slammed doors. Just two people finally seeing the truth, that the warmth we'd once had was now just memory. Within a month, she moved out. We split things evenly. She kept the house. I took my dignity. People always ask what ended my marriage. I tell them it wasn't cheating or money or fights. It was something quieter, the slow death of kindness. When love turns into judgment, when affection becomes conditional, the relationship doesn't explode. It dissolves. Now, a year later, I live in a smaller place. I cook for myself, walk in the evenings, and sleep better than I have in years. Sometimes I still think about her. Not with anger, not even sadness, just recognition. She wanted perfect. I wanted peace. I got mine.